What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I want to say welcome back. Yo, this is our living room. This is our barber shop. And this is the Sports is My Love Language podcast. I'm really excited to have everybody here tonight, man. We had a little change of pace. We got a new face here that I'm really happy he joined us, man. He's always very insightful. And I love his point of view because he's very thoughtful. He uses analytics. He uses a little bit of emotion, kind of like us over here, where he kind of gives you a little sprinkle of everything. So it's kind of cool, man. First and foremost, let me give a shout out to my guys, Javito, my man AK. They're taking care of big boy things. Hope to see you in about a week or so when everything kind of slows down. First and foremost, let me introduce my cast. I got my man, PD Pablo, aka El Schefter, the guy that has the contracts. He has the information even before it hits some of the airways. And I want to give a big shout, my man Lou. Yo. My man, Pretty Lou. What's going on, brother? I'm really excited to have you here, man. This is dope. It's a long time coming, though. And I hope
good to be here, Big Mike. Good to be here.
Yeah, and I hope that it's not like a one-time thing, man. I hope that, as we move forward, every now and then you can pop in and say what's up and, give us your point of view on a couple of things. So, yeah, man. So tonight we got a pretty cool show. There's a lot. As always, the NFL is the gift that keeps on giving. And we got a lot of NBA talk, so that really popped off in a really cool way where we're going to be able to have a nice discussion on that. There's so much from contracts to free agency to the combine to who got paid to people colluding, you name it. Well, let's start off here. We're going to start off with our guys in the NFL. You know what I mean? My man Lamar Jackson is probably at the center of what's going on right now. And he's asking for a fully backed contract upward to $250 million, kind of like what Deshaun Watson got, exactly over what Deshaun Watson got. And he doesn't seem to be budging. He's not being represented by an agent. And he's kind of standing on his 10 toes saying, no, this is what I want. And you got to give it to me. If you don't, I'm done. So the Ravens come back and they say, okay, cool. We're gonna franchise you, but non-exclusive. And we all know, man, look, part of that is a genius move. Part of that can alienate Lamar. Part of that can, give opportunity to other teams. I'm really interested to know, Petey, what are your thoughts, man? Where do you go with this Lamar situation? Let's not talk about whether he deserves it or not. I really want to talk strategy. Like on each side, like what are your thoughts? Because I know you think deep into that. You see behind the smoke screen on what Baltimore is trying to do. You know what I mean? Like that franchise tag. What did that mean to you? What message were they sending Lamar?
Yeah, it's obviously, like you said, it's no secret, about that Lamar deserves to get paid. I don't think anyone's going to argue that point. So why I think that non-exclusive tag was sheer, the right move for them to do, given what I believe has been the circumstances of the negotiation between Lamar and Baltimore. So this is, for context, so people can understand where I'm coming from. This is what I think is happening. Like you said, Lamar wants a fully guaranteed deal that is more than Deshaun Watson, from 235 and up, whatever that is. But I want more than Deshaun, and I want it fully guaranteed. That's all he's saying. He's not saying 5 years, 7 years, 8 years. He's not bringing it down like that. I don't think he cares about average per year, and he wants to be the highest average per year. Nothing's been about that. He just wants fully guaranteed more than Deshaun. That's his flag. That's the hill he planted it on. Baltimore's way on the other side. And the only offer that we've heard, not that we're saying that this was the only, but the only one that has been publicly spoken about was $200 million with $133 guaranteed, which is obviously a slap in the face to him, given that Russell Wilson got $165 guaranteed and Kyler Murray got $185. So I think most people will say he's got to be at least there, if not a little higher than that, maybe $190, $200 million guaranteed. But that's neither here nor there, right? We say we're not going to talk about what he should get. So Baltimore said, all right, well, we know where you are. We're somewhere between here and where you are. So they said, like everyone, we always hear about quarterbacks when it comes time for extension. You're worth what the market says you're worth. Great. So Baltimore said, Let's see what the market says you're worth. And they gave him the non-exclusive franchise tag. So now the market is going to decide what he's worth. Now, we'll get into we can get into that after this part. We'll get into what the teams are doing or not doing. But whatever those teams are that do want to talk to him and put in a bid for him, whatever that is, whatever the highest number is that Lamar gets, that's what you're worth. According
that is what you're worth.
To the market. And this is why it's sheer genius, because we know it's not going to be a fully guaranteed deal. And we'll talk, like I said, we'll talk about that in a second. So anything under than that, Baltimore will match it. They'll match it. Because only one time ever in the history of the NFL did a non-exclusive tender get offered to a player. And the team said, nah, you can have him. Every other time the non-exclusive has been used, the team has matched.
Who was that player? Who was he?
Oh, I saw the status some long time ago.
You saw it.
I had it somewhere. I think I even sent it in our chat.
It's all good. It's all good.
No one of notoriety. Let me put it that way. It wasn't like so anything under a fully guaranteed, Baltimore was probably willing to pay it. Because I'm sure they were throwing all those other kind of numbers higher than 133. We just didn't know what they are, but I'm sure they were going higher. Probably the 133 was a starting point, like it is in all negotiations.
That's the basement negotiation. Hopefully,
So if it's not a fully guaranteed, and the other team says 200 mil guaranteed, Baltimore's like, okay, we'll match it. Now, Lamar, do you want to sign it? Now, pressure will be all on Lamar to decide what he wants to do. It'll be on him.
And got to blame the Browns.
That's why it's sheer genius. That is sheer freaking genius by Baltimore, because they we're going to make this.
I think part of it. I got something to say on that part. What you just said about it's sheer genius. It is, but there's a flip side that I see.
And let me also say this, because like I said, I don't want to get into the other topic, but just because we're talking non-exclusive, the non-exclusive franchise tag in and of itself is automatic
pro owner.
It's automatic collusion.
Yeah.
Because that is what that does. It makes you that the market decide. And the team is like, I'm just going to wait and see. And nobody has to talk. No owners have to talk to each other. It's whatever those other teams want to do. And that's the market. And that's
we'll dive into that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Lou, what are your thoughts, Lou?
Gotta blame the Browns, man. They were like the thirsty dude chasing the chick, because no one had really ever offered a fully guaranteed contract, right? Has that ever happened before?
Yes, let me cut you off. Kirk Cousins in 20.
Yeah, but we were talking 70 million.
Yeah.
Like,
it was
not 250 million.
It was,
not 5 years, $250 million, which is insane.
No.
And what happened was the Browns were a part of 4 or 5 teams that were in the running. And what happened was they told the Browns, you're out of the running. So the Browns said, okay, in a thirsty move, said, we'll fully guarantee the whole contract. And then
I was about to make like a reference that you could have made back in like 2000, but you can't make today, about a desperate chick. So let me just back up. I was like, let me not go that route.
That's your other, that's your other podcast, Mike. That's the
other. And they got him. So, it's a precedent that was set that, some owners would call an outlier. Like, that will never happen again. Will that ever happen again? Who knows? And Lamar is basically judging this situation or assessing the situation based on what happened with the Browns and with Deshaun Watson. And a lot of people are saying that was an outlier. The other thing, too, is when you get this non-exclusive tag, right? One, a lot of teams are going to be afraid to offer, because they just think no matter what we offer, the Ravens are probably going to match it, right? That's one thing. The second thing is, in the week that the Ravens have to match it, right, that money that they offer Lamar is going to be off the books for that week. They won't be able to make any other moves, right? And so it's going to count against the salary cap until the Ravens match it, which is going to kind of stall business for about a week. So I think it's scary for a lot of teams to do that. I think somebody will offer something. I don't know necessarily. He got franchised. I think Kirk Cousins got franchised twice, right? He got tagged twice.
Yeah. I mean, Kirk earned that free agency because he took the franchise exclusive twice.
Right.
Yeah, he was smart. He played that. He played that as smart as you're gonna play it. I'll tell you.
Yeah, and the other thing too is Lamar Jackson doesn't have an agent, right? He's his own.
His mother's representing him.
Well, because
his mother is an agent.
Because I think he knew where his flag was going to be planted. He's like, I don't need an agent to tell you I want more than Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed. What do I need an agent to tell you that?
No, but I'll tell you this: there's a lot of leveraging that agents do.
For sure. But I'm thinking that's what
I think the leverage comes in with the shit that gets leaked to the press. That's where I think the marketing is, because a lot of this bullshit that we're finding out, we shouldn't be finding out. And if we did find it out, we should be getting even notice from both sides. Like usually when Drew Rosenhaus has a client, you're not only hearing about X side, the ownership side. All of a sudden you'll get a leak from his side.
Oh, yeah,
So I think on that end.
And they tamper like hell. They tamper like crazy, the agents.
Just like owners tamper. They tamper too. I mean, agents one are at the combine. They're talking.
Yeah, but listen, not to mention, an agent doesn't like. So, for instance, right? Like again, I'll just throw like a Drew Rosen. When he's negotiating on behalf of Lamar, he has a stable of players, and some of those players are being represented for that same team and for whatever. So, if you screw with the agent too much, he has the leverage to fuck with you on a level because he has a stable of players.
Yep.
And the stronger the agent, the stronger the stable of players, the more power he has to kind of like make moves. I'm not saying overall that he has that much control, but what I'm saying is that it gives him, it's just that added buffer between the player and the owner. I want to go in and
it's
talk
also
about
the perspective too that the agent can give you, strategic ways of looking at something the team will say. Like, don't get emotional about this. Just, let's break it down and look, this is what they're really saying or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all those little nuances, to your point, that they bring to the table.
Yeah, so, and I think that the owners are always I think it's almost natural to collude as an owner. You have 31 of the most powerful men in the world who always are. It's a boys' club. They're going to be in spaces together, and they talk these things through business. And agents are the one that get on the yacht with them, and the restaurants with them. And
it's like when you go to court and you have the prosecutor and the judge and the defendant. They're all having dinner this weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's all bullshit. But
exactly right.
I'm gonna say this. So let me chime in on this situation. How I feel. I feel that it is a genius move by the Ravens. But we're forgetting one thing, and we touched on it, the human factor, that he's not being represented on an agent, and there is now emotion involved, right? And there is an opportunity for Lamar to say, F you, I'm going to go with a team that's offering me less, but because I'm already pissed off at you guys, and you alienated me, and I gave you my all, and I was a model citizen, and I was a model quarterback, and a model leader, right? When 70% of my games, you put your entire organization on my back, and I took it, and now you do me like this? Okay, cool, no problem. You know what I mean?
But
now
Mike,
a team,
Baltimore can match it. Baltimore can match it, and Baltimore can say we're going to match it, and then that's it. And then it's up to Lamar, and it's up to Lamar to either hold out
if he wants to play, right? If he wants to play,
that's why they did it. That's why Baltimore did it.
Hold on. So just to be clear, because I might have gotten this wrong then. So Lamar, if the Ravens match it, he has to stay with the Ravens?
Yeah.
Or can he still go with the other team?
But he can hold out.
He can hold out.
Oh, he can hold out. Okay.
He can hold out.
Have done that.
But if Detroit comes and says we'll give him $200 million guaranteed, and Baltimore says, yeah, okay, we'll do that too. That's it. If Baltimore says, nah, we don't want to do 200, just give us 2 first-round picks. Done deal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Jackson says, I'm not playing.
Then all right, then you ain't getting paid, buddy.
Okay, we got a couple of comments.
He's held out though, but he's held out.
We got a couple of comments. I want to make sure I give my girl Jen a shout out here. Let's see if you guys can read that. What do you call it? Yeah, let me one of you guys can read that. Mine is bad.
Yeah, so I think it says I think he's going to get lowballed. His injuries have progressively gotten higher in grade the last few years. Teams are going to take that into account big time. I think that's one of the reasons why Baltimore is taking the pressure off themselves. And then because Jen, you're absolutely right. Had he not gotten injured, this wouldn't even be a conversation.
Yeah, he's missed a third of the games in the last 2 years.
Yeah,
and you know what? I think it's fair. I think it's fair to use to assess that when you're trying to assess a number. Anybody.
And here's the thing. I have not heard. Right. I have not heard. See, like even the people that have tried to interject like race and all that bullshit. Like, what I have not, like, I've kind of seen it pushed away only because I think everybody understands that the Baltimore Ravens are a solid franchise, and they're negotiating in good faith. At least that's how I felt.
Well, traditionally, that's what they've been.
Traditionally, right? Everything I've seen so far says they're protecting themselves, and if I was them, I would do everything the way they're doing it. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to jump whatever, even though I'm always pro player. Because I'm pro employee, I'm pro player. I want him to get paid. I do see that. Now, the thing about Lamar is, what do you call it? I don't want to. I wonder if he made a mistake, right? Or if he was, because I get the gut feeling that he wasn't as hurt as he was saying
at the
the
end of the
last
season.
couple of
Yes.
games.
Agreed.
I think that if he would have played, now, it's easy for me to say from the couch, you know what I'm saying? But if he would have played those games, I think he would have been in a little better position. You know what I'm saying?
He made a business decision at the end of the
Yeah,
Right,
day.
he made a business decision. I'm not mad at him, yo.
The injury was
I mean, neither.
like the time frame of what the injury was in terms of how long it would take to quote unquote you be ready was kind of still like
it's like
there
it
at the end of the
limbo.
season. In other words, if
Okay,
it would have
okay.
been like in the middle of the season and the time frame of that injury passed and he still ain't back and there was still time left in the season and you're still not back, like now you can say, oh yeah, now you definitely milking this, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But it was just so kind of like right there at the end that even with that first playoff game, you could kind of still argue that, well, he's not ready yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I get the idea because that there was talk of that, right, when that was happening for that playoff game.
Yeah. I'll say this. So he's missed a third of the games in the last 2 years. So, was that 34 games? He's missed a third of
So
them.
10
Maybe about
10 the last 2
about,
years.
About 10 games in the last 2 years. Now, I'll say this. Can you say he's injury prone? Perhaps. I will say this. I don't think he's had a lot of talent around him.
That's it right there.
Don't give me Hollywood Brown. Don't give me Hollywood Brown.
No. Andrews is the only
that's it.
offensive weapon.
7 running backs he's had. One of 7 running backs he's had. So can you attribute the fact that he has no playmakers on the outside to the fact that he
in
has
Greg
to do
Roman's
more?
offense? In
He
Greg
has to
Roman's
do more.
offense, that says
He
here,
has to
go.
do more. He has to do more. He's running handoffs or he's running options and he's running to the outside. And he's a big athletic dude, but when you have to put that whole offense in your back,
I'm going to say something that's probably going to sit bad with a lot of people, right? Because this guy gets Josh Allen in his first 3 years was trash, right? You insert Stephon Diggs, Brian Daboll, Stephon Diggs, all of a sudden this guy's all world, right? Yet, why is it that? And again, I'm not going black and white. That's not what I'm going. I'm going the fact that this guy is just his offense. They're not giving him. They're not accrediting the fact that he was the offense. You're going to play the Ravens. Oh, let's game plan. Okay, what's the game plan, coach? Stop Lamar.
The whole offense. He's had no playmakers on the outside. He's had Mark Andrews. He's had 10 different running backs. The dude has won an MVP like that, too. Let's just remind you, he's won an MVP like that. He was cold at Louisville, right? He threw for like
in a pro-style offense. Here's what people don't understand.
Cold.
Here's what people don't understand, Lou. In Louisville, he played in a pro-style offense, not a what do you call it? Oh man, it's escaping me. The RPO. He didn't play in an RPO offense. He played in a pass-first pro-style offense with zero NFL talent around him. And he won a Heisman.
So the mistake that Baltimore has done when it comes to the talent around Lamar, they've actually drafted the most wide receivers. And let me just make sure I say this clearly. Drafted the most wide receivers in the last couple of years. The problem has been is that they didn't go out and get a free agent established wide receiver for him that will help him more.
Nobody wanted to play in Greg Roman's offense.
Exactly. They wanted to find these young guys and hope that they pan out, and they just haven't panned out because that's what Baltimore has always done is they draft. They don't sign huge free agents, and that's the mistake that they should have gone away from. And when Stephon Diggs was available, and don't let Buffalo get him or whoever, right? DeAndre Hopkins, whoever, right? All these other guys that have moved. Right.
Well, now we're going to see that now, Pablo.
That they made.
Respectfully, that's not an excuse. Because think about
it's not an excuse.
The amount of receivers, the studs that have been drafted in the last 2 or 3 years.
Or that too, or like, move up in the draft. Like, oh my God, let's get Jamar Chase.
They have nobody. They've drafted nobody. Duke Lavelle.
You remember when they drafted the safety? The guy was all pro. The safety out of Notre Dame. Remember what I say? What did I tell you? I was like, what? Are they out of their effing mind?
They didn't need him.
Why are they not drafting a wide receiver, bro?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? I went off on this podcast. I was like, what the hell's the problem with these people? I didn't understand it. Okay, let's stop there because we can talk about this all day back and forth. I really want to go into the quote unquote collusion. Okay, so here are my thoughts on this. Of course, it's fucking collusion, but it's not illegal. It's not the term. It doesn't fit the definition of the legal term of collusion, right? Because they're very smart. They're not putting a paper trail. They're not gonna be in a room talking about it, right? It's a situation where they gave each other the wink. Like, hey, you know what's up, right? They talked about this not while this negotiation with Lamar is going on. They talked about this when Deshaun signed the contract. They were all in a room when Deshaun signed the contract.
It wasn't even a wink, Mike.
Right?
Everyone knew the other 31 owners were pissed. And they're like,
they looked at each other and said, hell no.
So from that moment on, you knew those owners are like, no, we ain't giving nobody even fucking fully guaranteed. So I don't even think that is about Lamar to say we ain't giving
it's not.
Like, we ain't gonna give nobody. But you know what's gonna happen? We'll know if that's bullshit or not next year. And the year after that, Burrow, Herbert, Hurts, Lawrence are all coming up for freaking extensions. We're gonna see if those four teams
they're gonna force their hand
all about that, or if they're gonna succumb to if Joe Burrow wants a fully guaranteed fucking deal, what they're gonna do.
The future is guaranteed contracts.
We're gonna see.
And I'll tell you what, this Lamar Jackson situation is gonna help dictate part of that as well. See what he
absolutely.
It's
absolutely.
I don't actually think it will because I don't think a team's gonna give it to him.
Fully guaranteed.
I don't think a team's gonna offer it.
Because
if the owners are steadfast on saying we ain't gonna do it, like Mike said, that unofficial wink, and if we go with that, and no team does it, then he's gonna have to take whatever is offered. But
here's the thing, Pablo. I think in the first round of negotiations, right, that wink is gonna come into effect. But let me tell you something. There's two things that come into play, right? That why these teams can't show their hand this early. Number one, you risk alienating the quarterback that you have there if you don't get Lamar. So, for instance, if I'm the Miami Dolphins, I have to say I'm out. Right?
No, Miami has to be out because they can't do it right now.
Well, yeah, but their name was on that list. That's why I'm approaching.
But I wanted to get into that. Miami can't do it right now.
Probably not because they're over the cap anyway.
They don't have a first-round draft pick in 2023 because they got stripped because of the Tom Brady. So they can't do that right now. They have to wait till after the draft to be able to do a sign and trade.
So let's go to quarterbacks, guys that have somebody there already kind of like in place. You risk alienating the guy you have in place if you don't get Lamar, right? So that's number one.
Yeah, but teams never cared about that.
If the guy sucks, then you don't care, right?
Well, yeah, if the guy sucks, I mean.
Well, we know there are teams that are not going to be involved at all. We know there's a handful of teams that are like, yeah, we don't have to be talking to him at all.
But that brings me to my second point. My second point is when the well starts to run dry, and the deadline starts to fucking reach, and everything starts to get closer to the regular season, and teams start to really get desperate, then we will see who jumps and who bites and who sticks in the solidarity amongst the owners.
The problem is that the longer this goes, the harder it is for teams to rearrange their cap numbers, because if you have to look at the cap space of these teams right now, and there's no team, outside. Atlanta should be it because they got $57 million in cap space available.
Mm-hmm.
They should be, right? The Raiders should be. They got $39 million in cap space available. They should be talking, at least talking to Lamar.
Atlanta should have been there already. They're great.
You know what I'm saying? But there are other teams, the Commanders only have $8 million. So even if they want to do it, they've got to do something.
But they still have to unload players. They still got players to unload.
But they have to do that now. You can't wait.
Yeah. I think
the deadline is next week.
The first domino to fall. He'll be the first domino to fall.
And then the draft comes, and you draft your players, and now you have to use your money for that. So you got to do it before if you're gonna do this, you've got to do it before the draft.
Okay, so we have another comment. We got another comment. How the F did Daniel Jones get more money? No, okay. That's a misconception.
That has nothing to do with
and Daniel Jones did not. He didn't get more money. If you look at the contract, the way it was set up, it's genius by the Giants. It's actually a genius contract by the Giants. It was really well put together. Where it's year 2 and 3, year 3 and 4, he'll never see, unless he outperforms in 1 and 2. He'll never get to that second part of the contract where he gets money. A lot of his money is guaranteed up front, but.
So for those of you that didn't do it, so the first year his base salary is $9.5 million. 2024 is 35.5. 2025 is $30 million. They could get rid of him after year 3, and they only take a $9 million cap.
Yeah.
They organize it perfectly. They can get out of it after year 2. They can get out of it after year 2 because it's only $18 million cap hit on that third year.
Relatively low.
So if he ain't performing, that's it. He's got $82 million guaranteed with $35 million potential incentive. So at best, he can get $117 million. Lamar Jackson's way past that stratosphere.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with
different way.
Not even the same. Yeah, and some of the incentives are statistic based. Right?
Yeah, they haven't really come out with maybe hit certain milestones.
It'd be interesting because for a dude who threw for 15 touchdowns this year, he may not hit incentives. Who knows?
Here's the thing: 15 touchdowns, but could you name his wide receivers?
Yeah, Hodgins.
You can, bro. You're fucking like that.
Yeah, I'm a Giant fan.
You guys are a Giant fan. Yo, let me tell you, 99% of the world didn't even know who these guys are. So I give him props for even being able to freaking 15 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying?
He didn't turn the ball over 30 times this year, so I'm pleased.
Yeah, it's improvement. And they definitely see an upside with him. And Brian Dable, let me tell you something.
You shouldn't have
that contract that he got is a testament to Brian Dable.
5 team and getting one of the QBs this year.
Yes, thank Brian. And then Brian Dable left the Bills, and Josh Allen turned the ball over 30 times. So
and he's regressing. He's regressing.
Right.
I'm interested to see him next year. I hope he's good. I like him.
Well, but he's regressing. Let me tell you something. Buffalo's hurting, man. Buffalo's cap situation, they're hurting. They're gonna lose.
Yeah, they're gonna lose a lot of players, right?
They're gonna lose players.
The Giants, I'll almost guarantee they draft a quarterback this year in the 4th, 5th round, 6th round. I bet you they draft somebody solid backup.
Yeah, there's nobody out there. Not in this college. After the first 4 QBs,
you never know.
The TCU quarterback. I go TCU quarterback if I can get him in the late rounds. The TCU quarterback, I go after him if he drops to like 3rd or 4th round, 5th round.
But yeah, so the teams that should be like we talked about, like that should be doing it now, that have the cap space and have the 1st round picks: Atlanta, the Raiders. Some people are saying, Carolina should do it, but Carolina's probably going to get one of these young guys. So I don't know.
Yeah. Plus, they have a quarterback that's there the Sam Howell that they're going to try and
but they're going to get one of the worst Will Levi, even though he's the worst out of those 4 coming out, but not worse like he's bad, but compared to the other 3, But it should definitely be Atlanta, and it should be the Raiders. I don't know why they came out and said that we're not going to entertain it. Doesn't mean they can't change.
Well, we know why. We already know why. We know why. Remember, we just went over that. We all know why. They know they're not going to entertain it because the wink. That's why they're not entertaining.
Well, no, and I think it's just something that Lewis said earlier, that it says that I just think because we expect it not to be fully guaranteed and more than Deshaun, that Baltimore will match pretty much anything below that. Yeah. So maybe they're just saying,
why waste my time?
Why waste my time?
Yeah.
It's just
if I was the Jets, I'd waste my time.
But it's just odd. I mean,
if I was the Jets, I'd waste my time.
Yeah.
I'd waste my time yesterday.
Yeah.
If I was the Jets, I'd waste my time
yesterday. Talk about a team with playmakers. The Jets.
I would have wasted my time yesterday.
The Jets are going to get
Jimmy G. Pieces.
And we got freaking they're courting Aaron Rodgers.
You know what? If they got permission to go see Rodgers, that usually means that the 2 teams agreed on a deal for themselves in terms of the compensation, and it's not about convincing Aaron Rodgers. There's no way the Packers would say, "Yeah, go ahead and talk to him," if they didn't already say, "Okay, well, what do you be willing to give us?"
Yeah.
If we let you
Mike,
talk to him, that's how it works.
Do you want Aaron Rodgers, Mike? Do you want Aaron Rodgers?
He doesn't.
No, I'll tell you why I don't. Not because he's not great.
45 years old.
Yeah, not because he's not great. No, we can't guarantee him for a second year, right? We don't know what he's going to do in year 2, right? Number 2, he's notoriously bad with first-year receivers and young receivers. He's not a guy that's going to sit there and really tutor them and nurture them for growth, right? Boom. Number 2, we have a defensive head coach, right? So it's not like and I get we have Nathaniel Hackett, his offensive whatever, but that's not how that shit works, bro. You need to have an offensive-minded head coach with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, bro. Right? There you go. Here's the thing. Why not bring in, and again, I know this is kind of crazy, but a Lamar Jackson who's young that can grow with these guys. Now, the thing is this: after about 4 years, after about 3 or 4 years, you got to blow the team up because you're not going to be able to pay anybody. Because these guys, you're lucky that all these guys are on rookie contracts. You know what I'm saying? And then the problem with Lamar is that if Lamar doesn't restructure and doesn't whatever, then they're gonna have to blow up the entire team, get rid of the Sauce and get rid of Wilson.
Yeah, Tom Brady, that bitch, man. He been restructured how many times to keep the team together?
That's
and you have with Aaron Rodgers, you have the most sensitive dude in the NFL who just played in Wisconsin. You're gonna come and play in New York? He can't. Nah, no way.
That's the thing. That's the other one, Blue. Him against the New York media
for 2 years after.
But the Jets, I mean, regardless of whether it's Rodgers or Lamar, they only got 1.5 million available in cap space. They got work to do. But if they're willing to go after Rodgers, who's at 50 million, or actually 60 million this year, then I think they can work something out with Lamar over a 7-8 year deal, and give him a big ass signing bonus, and back in the back of it, and then just get a low hit on the cap the first couple of years. But Lamar wants to guarantee.
Listen, here's the thing, Pablo. Right? I think a lot of it is. I don't understand why the big deal. Right? For instance, Deshaun Watson's already restructuring his contract. This year, he's already
trashed this year. That's why he sucked at the end of the year too.
No, but I'm just saying, like they already went to him and were like, "Yo, listen, we need to be able to hold on to some players." They already sat down. They
already had agreed to that when they did the contract originally. And
that's how. And listen, Patrick Mahomes, another one, huge monster contract. He's already in the renegotiation, restructuring. Well, that's all they got to do. Like I don't understand why the
NFL. Yeah, right. NFL contracts are the furthest
because restructuring doesn't mean you're losing money.
No, I know, but remember,
restructuring means you're still going to pay
more available.
Right, but at some point, you can't stop pushing it. You can only convert so much into a signing bonus, so much. You know what I'm saying? And there are other owners that don't want to play those numbers.
Why are some teams so good at it? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are some teams so good at it, and then other temes just seem to have such a hard time?
Because
we're talking Lamar Jackson.
Because we're talking owners,
about. Do you feel like collusion? Do you feel like what they did with his contract as far as signing him to the non-exclusive franchise tag was smart? Like, what are your thoughts on the whole Lamar thing, man?
I mean, I don't know about collusion. I mean, dude, it's like anything else. It's like the prosecutor and the judge. They have.
I just said that.
They have the same exact together. You know what I mean?
You haven't played golf.
I'm curious to see if I was a team that needed a quarterback and looking at what it is on the market, I would give up 2 first-rounders for Lamar. I think he's a hell of a
easy.
So I don't
2 first-rounders.
Yeah, I think I read a little article that had some good points. I mean, basically what they're saying is what he's missing by having an agent is in all those combines, things like that. Nobody's making backroom deals.
That's the Yahoo article, right?
I think it was a Yahoo article. Yeah, nobody's making backroom deals, and I think there's some merit to that. So it's going to take longer. Absolutely. But that guy's a football player, and he's a quarterback, and teams need that, man. So 2 first-rounders is a lot better than what you get for Deshaun, right?
And Baltimore made it clear yesterday that all they want is 2 first-round draft picks. Like they didn't lay out 2 first-round and a player and a couple others. So they've already put it out there, not necessarily for the non-exclusive matching, but after the draft, if nothing gets worked out, when you can do signing trades, like they've already made it clear. It's just we just want 2 first-rounders. So they're undercutting themselves there. For whatever stupid reason.
If you look at it, right, like say Daniel Jones was in the same position on the Ravens, they would have let him walk too. Like that's just the way they play. That's the way
they play hardball. They play hardball. Yeah, they play hardball. What do you call it? That's how they do. And I mean, it's been a successful formula for them. So, like I said, I don't knock them on how they're dealing with it, but I do feel like eventually some teams are going to come around. Eventually, here's the thing: they changed their offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they put themselves in position. Like, I don't know why they would do that. I guess they would do that if they're gonna have to move off of him or to satisfy him. Because it could be both. It could be we're here to change the offense because we're listening to you, or we're protecting our own ass because we bring another quarterback in. He's not gonna be able to do what you do.
Well, allegedly, and I'm gonna say this allegedly, they didn't even consult them when they chose the offensive coordinator.
Look at that shit.
Take that for what it may. Take that for
no respect at all.
No, and I don't understand for somebody who did so much, that has done so much. Remember, your Harbaugh was going to lose his job, bro.
Dude, when they brought him in, when he took over for Flacco, they were a losing team, and they went to the playoffs when he took over that team in the middle of the season.
And he literally just said, "Yo, here, it's like it was like a peewee team where you put the one guy on this. Here, go, just win us the game." And that's what he would do. And when he can't do it anymore, now all of a sudden it's like it's all messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't get it. I don't get it. Lou, you're having internet problems. It's not coming through. I know you say you're in the background, but Your device is not connected. I don't know. Let me see here. But okay, moving on. What do you call it? Let's talk a little NBA talk. There was a hot topic, man. Hot topic today between JJ Redick and my man Perk. Perk insinuated, or whatever you want to call it, or stated, however you want to put it, that Jokic was being voted in for a third time, or for whatever time, third time MVP, and that a large part of that had to do with the fact that he was white, right? And JJ Redick pushed back hardcore and said, no, the press is not, they're not, when it comes to that, they're not looking at race. They're looking at production. They're looking at the type of player that he is. They're looking at, other things. I have a thought on it, and I'm going to wait till I hear everybody else. And I'm going to chime in because I had already talked to Pablo about what my feeling was. But I do believe JJ Redick is kind of on point on this. But I want to hear from you guys. Let's start with Akil because he's fresh back in. AK, what are your thoughts on the whole Jokic MVP?
First of all, whenever a white person tells me about how there's a lack of racism, I take that with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like, Kendrick has an absolute point. And then the responses like Charles Barkley, oh, then why wouldn't a white person win every year? That's ridiculous. Like, you have Steve Nash should not have won 2 MVPs. Why didn't Jason Kidd win 2 MVPs? Why didn't Gary Payton win 2 MVPs? Why didn't all of the Isaiah Thomas win 2 MVP? I mean, like, Steve Nash shouldn't have won 2 MVPs. Dirk deserved his MVP. He was arguably the most, he was the most on-point player that year. But Jokic is fantastic. But we always hear about MVP fatigue, right? Like, we always hear about, like, if you're that good, they just get tired of rooting for you. Is Jokic more valuable than Giannis? I'm not even going to talk about Embiid because I'm a homer. But is Jokic more valuable than Giannis? Is he? To the point that he wins 3 straight years over Giannis? No. Of course, there's unconscious bias. And for some of those dudes, there's conscious bias. But yes, of course, it does matter. No question about it. To say that is completely ridiculous is ridiculous. And then all he could do was go back and point to the fact that Magic Johnson won without being top 10 in scoring. Dude, that's the greatest point guard of all time. Like, that's a guy he wasn't a scorer. That's different. You know what I mean? Like, that's Magic Johnson, who's outplaying Larry Bird, who's outplaying Isaiah Thomas, who's outplaying all the best people of that generation at the time till Jordan came. So I think that absolutely it's not the whole reason. Jokic is a monster. But is he better than every other player in the NBA to where that he should win 3 MVPs back to back to back? No way. And whatever arguments you had last year about Murray being hurt, this and that, you don't have those arguments anymore. You can say that about Giannis. He missed Middleton the whole entire year. You know what I mean? So, no, I don't think that Redick is 100% on point, and I think that Kendrick Perkins absolutely has some, kind of value to what he's saying. And I think if it was a lighter-skinned dude who didn't have the reputation that Kendrick Perkins has, it potentially could have been taken different as well.
Ooh, hot take. I like it.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my point. I think race plays a factor. It's not everything, but it does play a factor.
Lou, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think out of the last 3 years that Jokic played, he probably has more of an argument this year to win the MVP than the previous 2 years. I don't think he's better than Joel Embiid. I don't think he's better than Giannis. Even this year, Celtics look like one of the baddest teams in the East, too. I would even put Jason Tatum in the conversation. There's just so many players so good. But Jokic is averaging a triple-double as a big man right now. It's just pretty crazy. In terms of the race conversation, or at least between Redick and Kendrick, race, is a complicated thing, especially in the NBA where you have a predominantly, black-dominated industry, I think, and you have a predominantly, white media, where sometimes they do look for the great white hope. I do think that that Luka Doncic is probably one of the best basketball players we've ever seen. I think he's kind of been force-fed to us. They're in 8th place, and people still posting about him and talking about how good he is, and they've lost like the last, 5 out of the last 6 games. I think there is a point to the great white hope player being force-fed to us and saying this guy is the man, But what Jokic is doing this year, averaging a triple-double, is incredible. I will say, though, is a triple-double watered down in the last, 10 years? Perhaps. The Nuggets are first place in the West. And, I don't know how Murray's coming back this year. He has Aaron Gordon. That roster to me isn't championship roster. I don't think they're gonna win the championship. I don't even think they're gonna get into the conference finals, to be quite honest with you. With some of those teams in the West, you got the Suns, you got the you have sorry, I'm drawing a blank. You got the Suns, you got Memphis. If John Morant ever comes back, they'll still be a tough team. If Dallas figures it out, there's so many teams in the West. I don't know.
Louis, you think that Dallas or Memphis could beat them in a 7-game series?
At the end of the season in the playoffs,
with John Morant?
You never know. Memphis, if right, if
John Morant,
that dude, bro. Nothing Denver has done in the last 3 years that tells me, oh, they're the favorites out of the West. Nothing. It's a regular season. They're in first place in a conference that everybody's 6 or 7 games apart. I don't think
they don't pass the eye test to you. Is that what it is? Are you saying
the Nuggets
they don't pass your eye
test?
That.
They're not like that. If let me tell you something. If the Warriors can figure it out by the end of the year, and would you want to play Steph and Clay and Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins in the playoffs? Would you want to see them? You would not want to see them. No, you don't want to see them. And I'm not again. If Kevin Durant comes back, because he had some goofy ass moment last night where he slipped and fell on a
he has a stress fracture out 3 to 4 weeks possibly.
Crazy, but if he
stress
comes back,
sprain or something like that. For 3 to 4
he'll
weeks.
come back by the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
You got him and Devin Booker, and old Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton. I wouldn't want to play them either. There's just so many teams in the West. In a 7-game series, I don't know. And Jokic, as great as he is, the dude can't guard me. So I don't know. I think
how much should that count in MVP kind of conversation?
Yeah, that's.
I think it should.
There you go.
I think it should. I think it should.
You're jumping all over my point, but go ahead. Keep going. I love it.
Embiid plays defense. Tatum plays defense. And you know what? I don't like that the MVP conversation ends at the end of the regular season. I don't like that. I think postseason should be taken into account. I've always thought that postseason should be taken into account. If I get booted out in the first round or the second round, like Jokic has been booted every year, why am I winning an MVP? I don't get it.
Well, you know what? There's an argument. There's a reason why there's playoff MVPs. We can go there. Whatever.
I get it.
Yo, PD Papa, what are your thoughts? I want to see if you give us another angle. Let's go.
So I'm going to talk about the Perkins stuff. I'm not going to talk about what the definition of MVP is for the NBA because that's all going to be subjective depending on what you view that. Playoffs, not playoffs, points per game, blah, blah, blah. The reason why Perk is getting trash is because how he laid out his argument. He laid out his argument. Number one, he's already had a narrative this year against Jokic. He already said that he's padding his stats and he's being helped in padding his stats. So he already came in to whatever this conversation was with a narrative against Jokic because he favors Embiid for MVP. That's from shows from last week. That's number one. Number two, to make sure that I was correct in what I was thinking, I was looking up the things he was saying. Number one, the stats he wanted to use is that he said only 3 players since 1990 have won the MVP besides being out of the top 10 in points per game. Jokic, Dirk, and one of Nash's. Okay, 3 since 1990. So what? This goes back to whatever the parameters are for someone's MVP, right? Points per game, this and that. That's all subjective. Fine. Then he said 80% of, where is it? 80% of the voters were white. That was incorrect, and that's what ESPN corrected.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's implying that they're only winning because they're white.
And the number is 63%, right? You said?
Yeah, it was not 80%. And number two, since Nash won the 2 back-to-backs, and then Dirk after that, there's been no white players winning it until Jokic the last 2 years. So I'm trying to understand where this race narrative is coming from for Kendrick. I mean, I can understand he doesn't think Jokic should win 3 in a row because of other basketball-related reasons. I won't argue with that. Everyone has their own thing, and that is what JJ was pushing back against. It's like, where are you getting this from, bro? Why are you trying to make this implication about race when the stats that have shown this doesn't favor that it's been because they're white? The amount of people that vote isn't predominantly white. The white players haven't been dominating the award. And you've already shown that you had a narrative against Jokic because you think he's padding his stats when you were having a conversation about Jokic versus Embiid. So that's why I look at it from that perspective. I don't know what his fucking problem is.
You don't think he has a point at all? Like, you think Steve Nash, if he was not white, he would have won back-to-back MVPs?
But why did he win? You need to go back and tell me why he won.
But
I'm not saying he should have.
Why did he win? He was because he was running the show for the top offense in basketball. Yo, dude,
Okay.
Kobe was far and away a better player than him.
But you're saying that Nash won him because he was white?
I think that if he wasn't white, he wasn't winning back-to-back, if at all.
Okay.
I mean, Iverson didn't win.
So
back-to-back.
that
Jason
was
Kidd didn't win
that
back-to-back.
was 2005 and 2006.
Yeah, certainly he
Okay.
wouldn't have won, in my opinion, if he wasn't white back-to-back.
But Perk is trying to make this out like the white voters have been like crashing the party and taking over the narrative all this time.
Well, if you're white, you're guaranteed Jason Whitlock's vote. We know that for sure.
I'll say this.
That's what JJ was having a problem with. Is like, where are you trying to make it look like these white voters are always, like that's what he pushed back against.
Well, whenever there's a potential MVP who is a white guy, he gets bumped. I'm sorry, that's real. There's just not a lot of them.
And right, that's my point. Is there not many?
But the
potential
NBA
white
discloses
MVPs.
who the voters are every year, so you can see who it is.
So
that's
it's not
voting.
majority white voters?
No.
Over
you said-
50% are
You
not
said
white?
60. Yeah, you said 63%. Yeah,
I gotta
that's
look at
all.
I didn't watch First Take when they did the correction. But they
Well,
had they
I
literally
would
corrected
love to
Kenyon
see the
Perkins.
stat where they show out of that 63%, how many voted for a white guy and compared to the others, how many vote, like maybe it's very tilted towards that 63% voting for Jokic.
We'd have to go back and look at the votes because I don't remember if the votes get publicized.
I'll tell you this.
But that's what
we
that's
have
what
these
that
kind of
will tell you-
conversations.
But that will tell
Guys,
you the story because that's
When we have
those
these
are-
kind of
those are-
conversations,
Those are facts,
right?
Right.
It's like when we have these kind of conversations, right? And depending on you're always going to be able to find that underlying. You know what I'm saying? Like Akil had said earlier, you're always going to be able to if you look at it close enough. There's always going to be that skepticism. You know what I'm saying? You're always going to have that. You know what I'm saying? I get that part. I'm going to address it just strictly from a sports context here. If you ask Pablo we went out to eat the other day, and I brought this up. That's why we're talking about it today. I was like, yo, why the fuck is Jokic winning another? You're going to tell me he's an all-time great? Big man? He's like Vlade Divac's type. He's not no all-time great in my head.
So last year,
He's better.
Jokic got a total of 875 points, and Embiid got a total of 706 points. The way that broke down was Jokic got 65 first place, 27 second place, 6 third, 2 fourth. Embiid got 26 first place, 39 second, 34 third, and 1 fourth place votes. And that's what
I think that this is the bigger issue is that the whole MVP structure is flawed.
I agree.
It's flawed, and that's why
that's
a lot
fair
of times,
conversation to have.
yeah, it's flawed because number one, like you guys said, they don't take defense into account. Because if you took defense into account,
LeBron
Jokic
James
is
would win it every year.
Jokic is half a player. It's the same reason we were saying, who was it, man? We were saying somebody paired up nicely with another player because of defense or whatever. We had an argument a while back. Point being that number one, we need to restructure that. Defense needs to have a prominent position on this award, number one. Number two, what are we using? Are we using the eye test or are we using numbers? Of course, the NBA is going to use numbers. People are going to use numbers. If you use the eye test, he is absolutely not the most dominant player in the NBA.
Even
not ahead of Giannis.
numbers-wise, he's averaging triple-double with 24 a game. Joel Embiid is averaging 33 and like 11 right now.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And he's dominating everybody. No one in the NBA can guard him. Nobody in the NBA can guard him. Giannis is averaging like 31, 10, and 5, right? Like Tatum is averaging like 32, 8,
That's why-
and 6. Like, and Tatum is probably the best wing in basketball right now.
Second part is
Two-
that's what
two
where I was going with it. I was like, the second part is we overvalue the triple double. We should have realized that unless you're a point guard, we're overvaluing that triple double, man. It's just not, dude. I don't give a shit. When was the last time a triple double player, like double player, right? That was a steady triple double player, was the leader on a team that won an NBA championship.
Yeah. Oscar Robertson.
Right? Maybe Jason Kidd.
And he had Kareem.
Maybe Jason Kidd, that was like a machine at that, but he
Yeah,
wasn't.
but Jason Kidd wasn't dropping 25.
And he wasn't even the top dog, right? He wasn't even the top dog, and I don't think he was averaging. Point being, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think we overvalue the triple double. That's why Westbrook won it, and it looked very weird. It's like, yeah, he doesn't win it. He's not a winner. You know what I'm saying? And again, I think the overall situation, the whole thing with Kendrick Perkins, I think that I'm gonna go out and say it, right? I think that if he's just not articulate enough to make the argument he was trying to make on the level that you need to make that argument.
And when he was doing that stat padding thing with Stephen A the week before, and Stephen A is like, well, yes, so was Russell Westbrook. And then he was like, yeah, but
if you grab Shannon Sharp, right, and you make him, and you sat there and he started making that, I guarantee you everybody would have been with an element of, well, okay, I see what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? I think that played a huge role. But let's go with this. I don't like it. I don't like that Jokic is going to win another one, because now his name is in the all-time greats, and at no point in time is he the best player in the NBA. At no point in time this year has he been the best player in the NBA. He has not.
Him winning 3 in a row is crazy.
That is nuts. You're talking about Jordan never won it. You're talking about fucking Magic, all these guys, Bird. You're talking about LeBron, Kobe.
Crazy.
Kobe could have easily won.
Bird did do that. He did back-to-back.
Bird did go back-to-back. He didn't win 3. Right? He didn't win 3. Did he win 3?
He did, 84 to 86.
But let me tell you something. That is insane. You cannot you're basically putting him on the Mount Rushmore of basketball by saying this. And I just
Bill Russell.
I don't see it, man. No. That's why I think it doesn't sit well with people. It's because they don't see it.
But that's why everyone's perspective of those that vote anyway is the best player. Okay, so with the best individual player, all right, well then why isn't LeBron not winning it virtually every year?
That's what I'm saying. But he said, Akil made a good point. What's that called? Exhaustion? What's that? What you call it? MVP exhaustion? Or called it something like when you're tired of the guy that.
Yeah, MVP exhaustion. I think is what he said.
Fatigue, whatever.
Fatigue. Yeah.
But that's always been the case. That's probably what happened with Giannis before Jokic, when he won back-to-backs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he didn't get it done in the NBA Finals. Like we can make the same arguments, and that's fine if everyone's definition is, well, I got to see what you did in the playoffs, for me. Okay, cool. Some people may say, well, what are your stats per game? That weighs more to me in the formula. Okay, cool. That's your own subjective way of doing it. That's all these people that get to vote do it their own way,
Yeah.
So what would you rather have? Is it have each individual be able to base it based on what their importance is, or make the definition? The NBA says, no, this is the definition and you got to go by it. Well, then you don't need people to vote because you just define the definition. Everyone can see who fits that definition the best.
Yeah. I don't know about definitions or opinion. All I know is Embiid played Jokic this year and he bust his ass. That's all I know.
It was ridiculous what he did to that.
Okay, so do you want to take versus matchups into that?
It wasn't one versus. I mean, he was killing them. He killed them. He was killing them. He and Embiid. If you want to talk about maybe like measuring or analytics, Embiid's a 3-level scorer. He scores at every level of the floor. He does play defense. He can space the floor. He does all those things that you want a player to do, and he wins. They win games.
For some reason, why is it? Yeah, for some reason. Why is it like he's in a dark corner of the earth, bro?
I don't know.
He doesn't get the props that he should.
I don't know.
I love a Knicks fan bringing up Joel Embiid. You know what? I'm gonna repay the love. Jalen Brunson should get some 4th place votes.
There you go.
Jalen Brunson,
yeah. Most improved. Can I get most improved player?
Oh, he's got to. That guy's
a monster.
The best signing in basketball, man.
Yeah. He's my guy.
Player.
And I don't mean to take this in a different direction, but as a Sixers fan, I am thrilled they didn't freaking give up Barrett and Grimes to get Mitchell, because if they would have got a fighter with Jalen Brunson,
could you imagine us with? Oh my God,
that
bro.
team would be a top 4 seed NBA team in the East.
Oh my, you know how sick that makes me when I think of Barrett. Oh my God, bro. We even talked about it early on. Me and Javi were on here ranting about that. We were like, yo, bro, no.
That's
Mitchell,
one big
Donovan
win,
Mitchell.
one big hit and one big miss on the same all season.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm happy they didn't give up 85 picks and whatever for him because he's talking about one-way player. He's a
Well,
one-way
no,
player.
the deal was in place. All that was needed is to give up Barrett. That was
Yep.
it.
Barrett, they didn't want him. They
It wasn't
re-signed
just
him.
Barrett. No, it wasn't just Barrett and picks. Emmanuel quickly was in there at some point.
But they had, that's what I'm saying. They had it all worked out and then agreed. But then Cleveland says, "Well, we want Barrett too," and the Knicks said no. They said, "All right."
Plus they'll come play the Knicks like they were stupid because what they got from the Jazz was not as much as what the Knicks were offering.
I'm not saying stupid or not. I'm just saying that was the way it worked out. Is
what I'm saying, what they got from the Jazz, they got Markkanen.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up Markkanen and what else? The Knicks had more offer, in my opinion.
Check this out. Speaking of stupid is stupid does. Let's talk about my man Ja Morant.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so here's the thing, right? I think he got away with some legal loopholes, right? That allow him to. And I'm worried that because legally he doesn't have to. Legally, there's no major consequence. It's going to happen. That I'm hoping he still learns his lesson on just how bad things can get. Not even necessarily based on fact, but how you can get thrown under the bus by the press on a lot of hearsay and a lot of bullshit that never actually happened. You know what I mean? Because when we got this Ja Morant story, it turns out like only 50% of the information that we've been fed by the press is even real or true. You know what I mean? A lot of it is all nonsense. A lot of it never happened, or a lot of it happened this way, and people, they put it out another way. And I'm like, oh, okay. So if I'm Ja Morant, I'm more like, okay, I'm going to learn my lesson. I don't have to touch the stove and get burnt, but I'm just hoping he actually, because it's not his first incident either. He's also had other shit, like where he's done dumb shit. You know what I mean? My thing is this. The world comes crashing down on this kid. Because it's very convenient when we use the word kid, right? And now, I have worked very hard about avoiding talking race, right? Like just this year, I've just been like, let's take it a different route. We did a lot of that, a couple years ago. But this is a situation, right? And I can speak to this as an expert in this situation. I'm not speaking on this as a guy that's just a fan of sports. I'm speaking this as an expert, 25 years experience in this field. A 17 to 22-year-old black boy, right? Black boy, because your frontal lobe is not fully developed, even though we're not talking legally. Boy is treated like a fucking seasoned criminal at the very minimum of him acting up or doing something that's not, quote unquote, within society's parameters. Any other race, and I'm talking about Latino included, it does not fall into that. You don't look at a 22, 23-year-old Spanish kid. You don't look at a 22, 23-year-old white kid as a man when they make a mistake. Yet a black kid is viewed as a man when he makes that mistake. And Ja Morant is 20 or 21, and he's fucking stupid. But he's not a fucking criminal. He's stupid. He's immature. He's a lot of those things. The way the press wiped their ass with him over this last week and a half, yo, bro, that shit was egregious. It's wrong, and you don't do that shit. And I'm glad that certain players came out, and when they were trying to be set up to throw him under the bus, they kind of stepped in the way and were like, no, like Gilbert Arenas made his own set of mistakes. He was on, I forgot what show it was. They were trying to get him to throw Morant under the bus and tell him how stupid. And he was like, wait, nah, man, listen. And kind of like he pumped the brakes on that shit. Another guy that I saw do it was KG. KG didn't come out and protect him or defend him or anything, but also made sure that he was like, hey, listen, it's a fucking mistake, bro. He didn't, you know what I'm saying? It could have gone worse. And some of the situations could have gone worse. But at the end of the fucking day, bro, the way the press treated a mistake, bro, I'm sorry, man. That shit was race driven because no other race, and I'm throwing Latinos in there, no other race is treated the way a black man in America is treated when he makes a fucking mistake, bro. None. I'm sorry, bro. It's crazy and it's sickening the way the fucking press treated that kid. And it's crazy because you go back and a lot of this shit was embellished, was factually incorrect, whether the gun was here, was there, was it owned, was it not owned, I'm like, bro, and it's just coming out now. And the thing is this, the NBA is going to suspend him, right, for conduct detrimental to the team or whatever, and he's already kind of gotten ahead of it by taking time away. But legally, there's no recourse. None. You know what I mean? And that's bullshit, bro. It's bullshit. Let the guy learn the lesson. Let the guy, you make sure that he can try it. Make sure he learns the lesson. Make sure whatever. Get him the help he needs. But fuck, bro, the way the press came at him, they came at him, bro, like he was a fucking rapist. Like he was Ben Roethlisberger or Deshaun Watson. They were lighter on Deshaun Watson and fucking Ben Roethlisberger than they were on fucking John Morant. That's how shitty this was to me. Yeah, guys. My bad. Next up, my rant is over.
I don't mind. So as somebody who has and I'm speaking out of experience, who has a 15-year criminal background,
that could be interpreted one of two different ways.
No. I'm actually going to say something to the opposite. I think in this case, and obviously you can tell that I don't disregard race. I think the race always plays a factor, whether subconscious or conscious. But I think if there was a white kid who was 25 years old, who was in the club and he played for the NBA, and even if he was a superstar and he's showing a gat in his video, yeah, he's going to get roasted. Like everything you said about what happens to black kids in this country, I've seen it firsthand. I feel you. I have brothers of mine who've been in that spot. Like I get it. But I think in this case, it's a little bit different because the kid I don't have any problem with an NBA player strapped. There's people that would kill them for their chain or for what's in their pocket in a second. The moment you're in a club, you're brandishing that on your social media, which obviously I'm from the generation which doesn't understand that. That's not something any one of us would have done.
No, that's social media.
We weren't taking Polaroids,
No,
Polaroids.
Or the Kodak.
You would have taken it to the Kodak kiosk.
Like that.
The Kodak kiosk.
Hours trying to figure out how to be Nino Brown or Kaiser Soze, where you're not all up in the video. You know what I mean? Anyway, no, I think that in this case, like what he did, like that, I think it merited the criticism and it merited all of the pushback that happened to him, man. Like it's not a game, bro. Like people are getting killed every day. And again, if you have to carry because you can't take your security with you and we know how real it can be out there, that's fine. I got no issue with it. But throwing it up on your social media while you're in a club, you should get roasted. You should get suspended. You should have serious repercussions. I don't know this man personally. I don't know his family life. I don't know what's going on with his dad. You know what I mean? Is it his boy now? Is it not his dad?
He's from like a suburban. The thing is, he's not a gangster.
Went to
suburbs. Went to like a
but I mean, look, let's be real though. Like you could grow up in the suburbs. If you got money, and you're still a target. If you're black or brown.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? So like that part. I mean, yeah, he did grow up in the suburbs, so you'd think he'd be a little bit less. But we all know people who grew up in the suburbs who are shooters. Like that could happen. You know what I'm saying? So. Like I just think that it was such a dumb move. Like I honestly haven't seen anything even remotely like this. Because as much as Gilbert was a star, he wasn't this kind of star, and he certainly wasn't at that point in his career where he had the thing with Crittenton. Crittenton's locked up for I think murking somebody, but he wasn't a star. Like you don't see that for somebody who's supposed to be the face of the NBA. So I think that he just got way too big for himself. His head is enormous, and hopefully this is a learning experience. I do agree. Like he didn't pull it out on anybody. He didn't.
That's all it should be, though, right?
He did something that's just really stupid.
Can we agree that that's all it should be? A learning experience.
And that's what it's been so far, generally. Because anytime you do anything stupid, you're gonna have Shannon Sharp, and you're gonna have Skip Bayless, and you're gonna have Stephen A. Smith, and you're gonna have all these people talk about you. They need to fill their show. Like that's a thing, but. I don't know that he's gotten sued. Now, if he gets suspended for 2 years, I'll take this back and say, "Yo, that's crazy." But you know what I mean? Like if he gets a 10-game suspension,
he got 2. He got 2.
No, he's out.
Well, that was self-inflicted.
The NBA
self-inflicted too.
He's out
by the team and by himself.
He got 2, but he's
and
probably
then
going to miss 4.
If we want to talk about race, let's be very clear too. The average young black or brown man in America does not have Para, who's the fucking Memphis Grizzlies owner, behind the scenes trying to limit any damage to his franchise.
Yeah, mitigating the fucking circumstances.
You know what I'm saying? He's got a white owner who's out there like, come on, we'll teach him, we'll help him. it's not that serious. Like he's got somebody to advocate for him that can get in the room with those racist.
And listen, you're not saying anything. You're not saying anything I don't agree with, right? And I think maybe I didn't make my who the vitriol I was coming after was for. It was for the media.
Yeah, you said that.
The way the media, like, if you would have put him up against somebody who committed murder or somebody up against him, you might not have been able to tell who they were talking about. You're like, whoa, how come you're talking about kind of like in the same breath? This is weird, bro. This is weird. That's not how this is supposed to be done. This is supposed to be more along the lines of like when they find fucking just like this. Let's treat him like an idiot. You know what I'm saying? Treat him like an idiot. He needs to get
an idiot, Mike.
better.
He thought he was probably listening to a DMX song or something, and he got involved into him.
Oh, you're giving him way too much credit. You're giving him way too much credit. You said DMX.
Know better.
He's not listening to DMX. No, he's not.
You listen to fucking 6ix9ine.
I don't know.
NBA Young Boy. That's what he listens to.
NBA Young Boy.
I don't know. Little
baby,
big baby.
Little somebody. Just fill in the blank after little.
Little Tunchi.
Also, too much credit. So I'll say this. I'll say this, Mike. So I'll say before this all happened, he pretty squeaky clean background, right? Like you said, you see everybody posting up the memes, and it's funny because black and brown social media has also been ripping him.
That's the funny part is that's the one that goes at him. Black Twitter goes hard, bro.
Hard.
They kept calling him John Morant. That shit was hilarious.
Yeah, and he's had pictures of his family where he had the checkered button-up shirt, like being reposted and stuff, and it just looked like, what is this guy doing? He's been a squeaky clean. He went to low Division I school, pretty good background.
By all accounts, a good father.
Yeah, good father, good family. Has done really well in media beforehand. Seems like a really nice guy. I'll say this too: young people and young NBA fans love John Morant. Like young people, that is the star that they follow. The little dance and the way he plays. John Morant is a young person's favorite player right now. That's not even, hands down their favorite player. Yep. Now, the thing about this is, I'll say, as the kids say, he's fumbling the bag. So I don't think he should be going to jail.
Fumbling the bag, you damn right. Yeah.
He's fumbling the bag. Like, there's already stories out there about him getting into a fight with a 17-year-old, right? And then him pulling a gun out. Whether it's true or not, stories came out. Then he went to a club, supposedly pull a gun out on a bouncer, I think. That's what happened as well. Then, after all that was out, and they were starting to like, okay, there's some smoke here. Let's start investigating. Then he went on Instagram Live and pulled out the little pocketbook pistol. It was like a little pew-pew. It wasn't even a big one. He had a little pew-pew. And he's like, in the club like this. So I just think it wasn't intelligent, especially put that on top of, not if it matters, their Grizzlies have been like the most arrogant team in the NBA this year. Like they talking shit. They're always in the media.
Having fun and won a damn thing.
So and haven't won shit, right? So it just hasn't been, I guess, a media. He hasn't been appealing this year as much as we'd like him to be as a young star, and that happens, and it's just, just not smart decision making. I hope he doesn't get suspended very long. I hope he gets.
This is a good
comment. It was 2 games that already came out.
He's getting suspended 2 more games.
No, just 2 games. Just 2 games.
2 games by the team, right? And then 2 more. He did 4 by himself.
No, but he's stepping away, so he's gonna get suspended for 2, which he won't get paid for. But he's stepping away. Overall, he's gonna miss like 4. But I don't think they're not gonna pay him for those other 2 games.
What do you think of that comment? Josh's father needs to be a little bit more like LeVar Ball instead of trying to be a celebrity.
I think his father has some like you could put a little blame on him. Like, dude, you gotta. Come on, man. You got to be more of a dad. And Lewis just said it. I think he was like, there's been a couple of other instances. So, like,
somebody's got to get in his ear, man. Somebody's got to get in his ear.
I may be ignorant to this point, but I follow basketball heavily. I haven't seen any numbers put out that he was suspended. I saw he was out for 2 games. Then they said he was out.
And then he did, the self-inflicted 4 games that he stepped away. That's what I heard.
We'll see. They were suspending him 2 games.
2 from the team, though. Suspended by the team, not by the
league. That's a slap in the hand. I will also say it's ironic because had just dropped Kyrie Irving for tweeting an Amazon movie. Just dropped him. And who is the NBA player they picked up? John Morant. John Morant gets his signature shoe right after. So Kyrie gets pushed to the periphery. Like, this guy's an asshole. He's an idiot because he posted an Amazon movie that we don't agree with. That is, I'm not going to get into this, but
Please don't. We don't want to cancel.
Deemed inappropriate, right? What have you? This guy gets signed. He gets a signature shoe, and he's gunplay. So
I just hope lesson learned, bro. I really do. I just hope.
I do too. And he's a great young player. It's sad because Steven Adams is a vet in that team, and I thought that he'd be more influential.
Well, right? that same day, that they had a players only meeting, and Steven Adams led the charge about we need to hold people accountable.
Yeah, too late.
That are not acting right, and then right after that same night, he decided to do his little thing.
Yeah, they were already acting like assholes.
But it was implied that it was implied that it was about him.
Oh wow!
So all I'm saying is, if that is to be accepted as as was reported, then this isn't a one-off in terms of like how he be acting. I'm not saying he's out there causing trouble every night, but if the players are having a meeting to say, "Bro, chill," then it's about his attitude.
I think that I can't be the guy setting screens to hold people accountable. That's the one dude you don't want to piss off, Steve. No, but I mean, clearly. But again, they had this player only meeting in end of February, March. They haven't been choir boys all season. It's not like this is a brand new
but that's
thing.
what I'm saying. I don't think they're trying to say let's chill how we are. I'm saying let's the thing is, like, we got to hold each other accountable. People are doing shit that they're not supposed to be doing.
I mean, it's all grounded in immaturity. It's all grounded in immaturity.
I think in the end, that's all it is to me. That's how it comes off to me. I want to make sure I say it and that it comes off because, like Akil said, we don't know him personally. We don't know, you know what I'm saying? But you start to see, like, these little nuggets, right? Like you mentioned with the 17-year-old kid in his house. The body, at the club, the gun, the security guard at the mall, that he had.
Right, it was the mall, not the club. It was at the mall, right? Right.
The laser pointer thing from the car from his peoples.
Yeah, that was stupid too.
That kind of started like, whatever. And then little by little, and then he decides to just be a dumbass himself. It almost comes off of like, and then supposedly he was dropping gang signs. I don't know. They were true.
Yeah, a crip sign. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is like, well, nobody knew you to be like that before. So now it's like, are you trying to get cred?
Well,
cred?
Yeah, it's like reverse fucking.
So that's what I'm saying.
Basketball and hip hop has always been a thing. There's always been a relationship between basketball and hip hop. And you come to the
NBA, baby.
And
Allen Iverson married those two.
Gotta bust the gat. Gotta roll up the backwood. All that stuff. Yeah, it's part of, I guess, that culture. And when he comes into the NBA and he's a star and he's rubbing elbows with some bad dudes, with bad meaning like dudes who come from that life, and not saying they're bad people. They just come from that life.
But to the point that you guys have said is that's where you need somebody to be in your ear.
Yes, you do. You do. He needs somebody.
Specifically, his dad.
That's not a yes man.
And the boys around him.
Looking at the gun that he had, he's probably hanging around with some bad chicks, not dudes.
Right.
Some young girls.
One finger, not even two fingers. Just one little puke. It's crazy. But he's a.
Think about his size of his hand is probably like this big.
Right? His size of his index finger.
That's true.
Damn gun is so pretty.
So maybe it was a big gun just because he's a big dude. It
looks small in his hand. Yeah, that's what you try to tell. That's what you got to tell women sometimes. No, it's just that I got big hands.
That's funny.
It's not that. It's I got big hands.
That is.
Denver's a weird place too because I've been to Denver a few times and it's a super cool, chill city. But I also remember, like about 10 years ago, you had that cornerback from the Broncos who got killed. You had Julius Hodge who got shot on the highway. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe Denver is a little bit more kind of dangerous than other cities in that way. For those
too bad he wasn't in Utah. He wouldn't have done that if he was in Utah.
So that was before marijuana was legal there. So maybe people chilled out a little bit since.
Yeah, everybody likes
right. He's also in Tennessee. Everybody got a gun in Tennessee.
Yeah, Memphis.
Tennessee. Yeah,
it's no worse than Memphis. I hear you.
There ain't no laws. There ain't no laws in Memphis.
And I've been to the strip clubs in Memphis, man. Let me tell you.
Ain't a damn
That's
thing.
a good point.
All right, guys.
Somebody, the wrong people in Tennessee, you're done.
But there's nowhere more dangerous than where Pablo is right now. I seen Will Smith get shot like 4 times right on that street. Is that a movie? Is that a movie? My bad. Yeah.
Bad boys, bad boys. All right,
Mike
guys.
Lowry.
And they're doing another one.
Mike Lowry.
Yeah. All right, fellas, man. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We had a great show, man. Thank you, Louis, for showing up and helping us out. My man AK, my man El Schefter in the house, in the building. We covered a lot of good stuff. I hope you guys keep giving us your opinion, man. Like, share, let us know. Keep joining us every Thursday night, 8 o'clock. We're here. Like I said, this is our barbershop. This is our living room. We're going to give it to you straight off the cuff. Sometimes analytical, sometimes emotional. Whatever it is, it's coming. And let me let you know this. We welcome you, and we want you back. Keep joining us every single week. Hopefully, Javito comes back in a week or two, and we have him back in, and we got a full strength. There's so much still to talk about, man. Like I said, this has been the Sports is My Love Language podcast. I'm your host, Dropping Dimes, a.k.a. the Hopeful Romantic, a.k.a. the Feminist with Chauvinist Tendencies. And I want to say this on behalf of my guys. Mark Twain said the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you discover why. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us and walking in our why. Have a good night, people. Peace, 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 peace.